what would you say is a tip that you can tell our listeners as far as preventative methods to try to not get reviews?
This product was really good.
All right, so we're here with Eric Young, which is one of Bullseye Sellers' accounts manager. You've been with Bullseye Sellers since day one. And Dane and Coleman, we've been working together with your services, which is, I think, is one of the most important services if you sell on Amazon. And you can tell us a lot more about it in a minute. But I've seen that thanks to your services, it could save or make an account hundreds of thousands of dollars for something that is very simple, yet not everyone knows how to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say simple in theory, simple in concept for sure.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's simple in theory, and but not that simple in actuality, right? And then I am VP of Sales here at Bullseye Sellers. So we're going to pick your brain, Dana, if you don't mind.
Let's
so you can
do
give
it.
us some good value.
All right, cool. So you want me to start off, or Eric, you have
just start off.
Yeah, you start.
What is your service? And
okay, cool. So
what do you do?
I do the review removal for Bullseye Sellers. So negative review removal, not positive. That would be counterintuitive. So basically what I do is I go through the Bullseye clients and I download all of their ASINs. I download from each ASIN, I download all of the reviews, and then I put those reviews through a GPT that's trained on Amazon's community guidelines and a whole bunch of other policies. I found like 10 or 11 or 12 policies having to do with what is a review, what is allowed, what a review is not, what's not allowed, and all kinds of other stuff. And also all of their fraud policies and like what to look for fraud and what they look for. And after, probably 36 months of testing, it kind of never stops, but 36 months of testing and correcting and changing and improving and removing things and adding things and testing things and blah, 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 blah. I'm able to achieve somewhere between a 5 to 10% removal rate and even higher at times when it comes to particularly supplements, because that's a very, very vicious area of Amazon. So that's what I do. I find those reviews that are non-compliant. I file cases with Amazon on behalf of the brand. So, the brand has to do absolutely nothing, and I either achieve results or I don't.
And you only charge once you are successful, correct? Otherwise, you
so there is a nominal onboarding fee to cover my initial costs to cover our initial costs of just getting started with the service, because there's a lot. Like when it comes to getting the reviews downloaded, you'd think, okay, cool, that's simple. It's not though. Amazon hides all but the last 100 reviews. They literally make them impossible to find. The review URLs still exist. The reviews still exist. They're still attainable by going to that link, and they're live and they're indexed by Google and all that stuff. But you have to find them through a super complicated series of.
Which it wasn't always like that,
so
right?
First of all, you used to have unadulterated access to all of the reviews. Then after the FTC slapped them around a little bit, they went, and the FTC found that Amazon was guilty of review manipulation on their own Amazon Essentials and Amazon products. Yeah. Interesting, right?
So they were breaking their own rules.
Do you even know what Amazon is? Like, do as I say, not as I do. That's what Amazon is. So yeah, they got found out about that. And some brilliant person went, I know, why don't we hide everything so nobody can publicly find it? So now it's not so easy to get. And then what they did after that, which I don't 100% disagree with, but don't 100% agree with either, is they made it so that you had to be logged into an Amazon account to even see the reviews. So for me to be able to download those reviews, you can imagine how complicated it gets to get all but the last 100. And I have to get more.
Interesting. Now, do all of them affect the rating that reflects on the listing? Or
all of them do.
All of them. So you can have 100 5-star reviews, the last 100 5-star reviews, but if you had some negatives before, it will still show 4.5 or 4.0 or whatever.
There is a very complicated, it's not a mathematical formula, but there's a complicated algorithmic formula that gives you your star rating. And it's not just how many 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s do you have. It's also, is it a written review or is it a rating? Is it verified purchase or is it non-verified? When was it written? How well was it written? How well does that reviewer write other reviews? Is there pictures? Is there videos? Is there not? So all of these things create a different weighting system on a review by review basis. So therefore, and then also, just statistically speaking, negative reviews hold far more weight than positive reviews. And it's not fair, in my opinion. It's actually backwards, because it's a known fact that in marketing, a angry person or an unhappy customer will tell 10 people that they're unhappy, but a happy one will only tell one.
Mm-hmm. That's right. People like to talk negativity.
Yeah. Well, they, if they're unhappy with the product, they'll tell lots more people to prevent them from getting with the product, right? But so that's kind of like what the rating system is. Like, hey, you've got a 5-star, at least one person will find it. You got a 1-star, at least 10 people are going to know about it, right? Right. And so they put that into the weight that translates into your rating, but your rating is what's heavily responsible for your conversion rate.
Right. I have one more question, and then I'll let Eric speak. I'm sure he has a question for you. So you mentioned something about there's like 10 or 12 policies regarding reviews and review manipulation. That's interesting, because I thought there was only one. And when I speak with clients, they're like, okay, we checked the policy, and you know what? It's compliant. We can't do nothing about it. But you said there is more than 10.
Something
so
like that.
Where do you find these?
Well, I went on a deep hunt for everything that I could find using using keyword search inside of Amazon, outside of Amazon, Google, ChatGPT, internally, even asking for policies and going through chats and stuff like that. So I'm a seller too, and of course an Amazon buyer. So anytime that I did a case, when I was done with that case, I'd ask the person, by the way, hey, I saw this review and I've got a list of 1,000 negative reviews that are non-compliant. That's clearly non-compliant and it breaks community guidelines. What's the policy on this? Something like that. And then from doing that, I was able to find some additional policies, some links behind Seller Central login that has even more data about what reviews are. So the short version of what a review is a customer's experience having to do with the product that helps a prospective buyer make a buying decision. That's the purpose of a review, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you get these reviews that say the title is "Do Not Buy," the body is "Didn't work for me." All right, cool. How is that supposed to help me, right? And so I'm actually able to get those reviews removed.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Well, one thing that I would add to that is that, which makes it interesting, is that what works today 100%. May not work tomorrow. Amazon is changing so fast. So you being in this industry, it's your job to keep up to date with what's working today, and definitely is a challenging thing, because review manipulation is a big no-no. It's not a slap on the wrist. It is an account closing fence. And so it's definitely a touchy area.
And I, of course, I would never name names, but I know people that have told me, we full-blown, like I look at the reviews, I'm like, dang, look at this spike in reviews here. Like, we did a good job, didn't we? I'm like, oh, I see. Yes, you did a great job. Cool. Let's get on to the next subject, And then they got smacked by Amazon for review manipulation. And so what Amazon typically does first is they go, hey, your account's about to be deactivated. Tell us what you did. And so you say, yep, I definitely, we did these things. We've corrected it. We haven't done it for X number of time. And we're so sorry, Amazon. You are the end all be all gods of e-com. Please forgive us for our sin, and so on and so forth. And what they'll do is they'll go, all right, we're going to let you keep selling, and we're going to strip every review you've ever gotten from the date that we found this first manipulated review. And so somebody recently got like 6,000 reviews stripped, and across like 8 products, and surprisingly, their ratings increased.
Wow.
Interesting. And the example that you gave actually was the correct thing to do, because what happens a lot of the times is you get this notification saying that you might get your account suspended, and you think that Amazon's not smart enough or isn't slick enough to know what you did. And so you give them some chat GPT BS answer. And the next thing you know, you log back in a few days and it says suspended, shut down. You can't log in. That can happen to a lot of people that think they're smarter than Amazon. And then they have to hire a company like us or Riverbend or some company to try to write them a POA. When honestly, if you're in a situation like that, I would highly recommend to be honest, because what they're saying is we caught you and we're giving you a chance to be honest. And I highly recommend to just go in there and just beg for mercy, because it's their platform, it's their way or the highway, and they don't. You need them. And
don't
more
forget
than
that Alexa's listening to you and probably feeding that into your Seller Central account anyhow with a nice little Alexa synopsis. Like, yeah, we know this person's doing videos on TikTok that said, review manipulation is how you make $1 million,
Which that's another subject. We
TikTok?
spend hours talking about it, but TikTok and Alexa and
invasion of privacy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's scary. Well, one thing I did want to add. So you're the service provider, the one that does this service, but I'm the brand manager. What I typically do is every time I onboard a brand, this is something that I think is essential, and I make every brand do this because it can be the difference between a 4.3 and a 4.2, and God forbid drop below 4 stars because your conversion, your sales are probably going to drop by 50%. Even 4.3 to 4.2 could be a 20 to 30% reduction. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to show you an example. I've hit all the brand names and ASINs. I'm just going to show you an example of what it looks like and how we typically use this service working together at Bullseye. So let me go ahead and share my screen.
Full disclosure, whoever's listening, I haven't seen this, so this is exciting for me too.
Okay, great. So when we onboard, typically we would list out all of the ASINs, and he uses his service to essentially gather all the 1 through 5 star reviews and aggregate them by their star rating. At this point, he classifies all the critical reviews of 112, and let me know if that's correct. It's the 1 through 3 star, correct? Yeah. And so these are all aggregated here. And what you do is you essentially check the box, and this lets his team know to which ones he wants to use the service to start to get the 10% review removal from. Now, I do know that it is a process, but again, we're doing it white hat, not black hat. So of course, doing it correctly always takes time, as well as your account doesn't get shut down.
Little key tip there.
Check these boxes. Yes, key tips. So there are some other tricks, but we won't go into that. And I definitely don't recommend anything that you find on Fiverr. Anyways, so this is the service. This is essentially where we start the onboarding. 112. This is going to what we're going to attack, and we're trying to shoot for about 12 reviews based upon the 10%. Would you say, Danon, on the 10%, would you say that is an average, or sometimes it's greater?
It's an average, and it is sometimes greater. In fact, it's I would say, it is sometimes greater. It really depends. There's so much variety. There's as much variety in terms of how many reviews are going to be removed as there are categories on Amazon, because competitors are different. Getting attacked by competitors is different in different categories. So if you're selling a $1,300 pump, the chances of you getting attacked are really low, and the chances of you having 1,000 critical reviews are also equally really low. So there's a few tips I need to go over to get the maximum amount of benefits. And this may sound like, hey, you're just trying to get more reviews removed so you can charge more. That's not actually true. It's not that I disagree that it does happen as a result, but here's what you need to know. The more negative reviews that Bullseye has to go after, the better the chances of getting that 10% point. Because the more ASINs there are to go after and the more variety of reviews, the slower we can rotate through the ASINs when we are filing cases. Therefore, we're not just hammering Amazon with one ASIN and, say 100 critical reviews on one ASIN. So having that diversity of ASINs is super important. The next tip is it's not too late if you're at 4.2, because you definitely want reviews removed so you can reattain that 4.3. But I would say, without going into expletives and to try and put how much force I have behind this, if you're at a 4.3, you had better start removing reviews now, because you do not want to hit that 4.2. Eric said 20 to 30%. statistically, it's actually 25 to 50, depending on category. So while he's not wrong, it's actually worse, potentially worse than he said. It's actually 25 to 50%. So it doesn't mean it has to be that much. It could be 10, could be 20%, but it's generally 25 to 50.
And like you said, it has a lot to do with the category. So some categories have a average star rating of yada yada, and in some instances you can get away with a little bit more just because of the average star rating of the keyword category, etc. But yeah, that was very good information. Now, so in this example, we have 112 and we picked 3 products, and so then the next thing that happens is using his service and doing his removed reviews, and these then get reported to us and to the client, and this starts to help the star rating. And so in this example, we had 112. I'm going to see if we beat the 10%. I'm just going to see. So we got 1, 2
that officially got removed.
So this tab, removed reviews tab, they're officially removed. But we keep it, Bullseye keeps a track of the remove date, the URL, the title, the body, the buyer, the date, and the star rating, because once it's removed, those are gone.
Okay, understood.
You know what? You hit the 10% on the head. It is
literally over what period of time? I'm curious. Yeah. So I usually, I'm just curious. So. Okay. So November to June. That's about right. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
8 months.
That seems about right. Nice.
And keep in mind, like you said, this is a maintenance thing. So what I like to do is I like to onboard everybody to kind of do a little bit of cleanup of preventive stuff from what happened prior to us getting to Bullseye. But then I like to use it ongoing because just like you had a bad review before, it's very likely you could get a bad review again. And it is important to have something preventive in place to maintain that star rating so that your sales don't drop by 20, 30%. Honestly, when sales drop, and I look at them every day, if I see something like that, that's literally the first thing I check. Is there a bad 1-star review that just came in?
Cool. So what else? Go ahead, Ernesto.
Oh, I just have one more question and then we can wrap it up. And I'd like to schedule another podcast with you, Dana, because I have a lot more questions to ask you, but we're running out of time. So as you probably seen more reviews than anyone I know, that's for sure. This is what we do for a living. Thousands, tens of thousands. Millions.
I hope.
Billions.
Review whisperer.
So what would you say is a tip that you can tell our listeners as far as preventative methods to try to not get reviews in the first place?
So your best and most effective that I'm aware of, right? I'm no soothsayer when it comes to reviews. I'm not a review whisperer after all, Eric. This product was really good. But so the best, most effective preventative measure that I've ever come across is superior customer service. So you do that through the Amazon buyer seller messaging system, right? So there is, do you guys, I can't remember, do you guys actually do customer service for brands? You do. Yeah. Awesome. I thought you did. Yeah. So that's the best preventative measure is, I would say, for 2 reasons. Number one, if you have Bullseye doing customer service, you are emotionally attached from the brand being this baby that you created, right? Amazon and customers don't care about emotion and don't want it, right? So that's number one. Number 2 is when you have a dedicated support team to handle your customers, they can spend more time delivering superior results than the client than you may have in your day if you're managing your brand by yourself. But that is definitely hands down the best system that I've ever had. And those brands that I've spoken to that go, sorry about your service, here's a refund, would you like a replacement, blah, 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 that they have had up to a 30% switch from a negative to a positive review.
Wow, definitely worth it. If you do a refund and a replacement, it might cost you $30-$50, but if it saves you a 1-star review, it could be thousands of dollars in the long run.
Yeah, the typical policy that I tell my team is a happy customer is a return customer, and that's how we manage customer service. If we give you a memorable experience, it's what makes you different, is what makes you remember and love brands, and that's what I try to do and try to teach my team to do.
Great. Awesome. Dana, thank you very much. Eric, thank you. We should set up another podcast. And thanks for this valuable information.
Happy to be here. See ya.